Hey everybody, welcome to the very first video lecture we have over the nervous system. So today for video 30, I wanted to make it really short and just kind of give a broad overview of the nervous system. We are going to dive very deep into the nervous system, and even though I'm going to be diving deep, it's still barely going to scratch the surface of what is going on in the nervous system. It's a very complex and complicated system of our body, obviously one that we cannot function without. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in this unit and in the time that we have this semester. So let's get rolling. So there are three main functions of the nervous system that we're going to take a look at. So as we go through a lot of these structures, just recall that these are the functions that they are serving. Some parts of your nervous system are going to be responsible for sensation. That is, they're going to receive some sort of information about the environment. So maybe it is some thermoreceptors in your skin sense that it is cold outside. Or you might have some sensors inside you that are going to sense your blood glucose levels or your blood pressure levels, things like that. That is going to be a stimulus. Now, a stimulus is simply something that is triggering some sort of process or some sort of response in the body. And your nervous system, parts of your nervous system, their job is to sense those stimuli. The second function is integration. So integration basically means that your nervous system needs to think about it and decide, is this something it needs to respond to? Is this something that it needs to do something about? It can compare it to memories, can compare it to your current state. Are you stressed out? Are you anxious? Are you calm? Are you relaxed? Various things like that. And so during the integration part, and those parts of your nervous system responsible for integration, they are thinking about it. Sometimes they're thinking about it when you aren't even realizing that your body is thinking about it. When we talk about reflexes, we'll see that in certain types of reflexes, your brain doesn't even get involved. Your spinal cord just makes a decision before that sensation is carried to your brain. And then the third function is response. So if the nervous system does decide that it needs to do something about the stimuli that it's receiving, it will send out some sort of response. And again, this could be something that you don't even realize you are doing, or you may not even have the ability to choose. So it might be voluntary or an involuntary response. So we can divide up the nervous system based on function. That can be the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is the involuntary portion of your nervous system. Things that you don't even realize are happening are being received and they're being taken care of. There's some sort of response being generated. Usually your ANS is going to be the parts of the body that are chiefly responsible for homeostasis, things like blood glucose, things like hydration, things of that nature where you don't have any conscious control over them. Sometimes you may see a subcategory of the ANS called the enteric nervous system. The enteric nervous system has to do with your ANS related to the digestive system. So obviously, you don't have to think, once you chew that food and you swallow, you don't have to think about it again. But there's a lot of muscles that need to contract, a lot of things that your body needs to read in your blood, certain levels of different chemicals, what your hydration is, things like that. And so that does get its own name called the enteric nervous system. We are just going to keep it as the autonomic nervous system, as all involuntary parts of the nervous system. Then you have the somatic nervous system. This obviously is going to be what you have conscious control over. Though it does include skeletal muscle reflexes, which you don't have conscious control over, but do rely on your skeletal muscles, which you typically have voluntary control over. So you can see some of these things. This image has it, the enteric nervous system separated, but your nerves going to be part of the PNS. We'll take a look at the CNS and PNS on the next slide here. But you can see some of the roles that each of these are playing in your nervous system. And then the other way that we can divide the nervous system is based on the organs involved, and that is going to be your brain, your spinal cord, cranial nerves, spinal nerves, those sensory nerves, somatic motor, autonomic motor nerves, all sorts of different things. So we can divide it up based on organ. Your brain and spinal cord are going to be one part of the nervous system known as the central nervous system. So if you kind of think where your brain, where your spinal cord sit, they are center. They sit in your head and torso. All other nerves, cranial, spinal, sensory motor, or somatic motor, and autonomic motor, then are going to belong to the peripheral nervous system because they are going to sit on the periphery of your body. Periphery, you think like your peripheral vision is things on the edge. And so all of those nerves are going to belong to the parts of your nervous system that are on the edge of the body and not sitting in a central location. Okay, so a brief look at how we can divide the nervous system and some of the functions. You're going to see all these divisions very, very frequently, especially when it comes to the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, though there will be parts where we dive into the ANS and the PNS. So make sure you know how to divide up the nervous system and what things may or may not be involved depending on the classification that we are using.